So yes, thank you. We are starting. Thank you,
Yeah.
Judith, one more time to be with us by Zoom. And actually, my first question I wanted to ask you back in Zagreb conference, which unfortunately didn't happen, referring on your experience as a former MEP, who did a lot on the rule of law, especially your famous report on Hungary. Just a personal touch, how was for you to investigate and to write the report? And did you see like a lot of obstacles in delivering, writing, and fighting for this report?
Well, yes, I did. First of all, it took the European Parliament close to 9 years before we finally had enough courage to write the report and enough support, particularly in the Christian Democratic parts, to write it. So that was a 9-year struggle. And then when we investigated it, I wanted to visit Hungary, which was blocked by, again, the Christian Democrats. And I said, that's stupid, because in the end, Fidesz is going to say, you didn't even come and visit us. How can you judge us? Which, of course, happened. Mm-hmm. But I also met an awful lot of people that wanted to talk. Scientists, activists, people representing institutions of the Council of Europe. There were so many people that were happy that the Parliament started this work, that they cooperated fantastically.
Okay, but your impression overall, was it EU ready to tackle the rule of law or not? Especially having in mind, like, the rule of law is the basic fundamental principle of the European Union, and the people, the refugees, immigrants are coming to Europe for better jobs, for better life, because we do have a rule of law which then give us better life, more jobs. So do you think that the EU really understands this crucial importance of rule of law? Is it ready to really to protect it, or it's not ready?
Well, it depends on who you mean, because the EU is nothing. It's all of us, all the citizens, all the governments of the 27 member states. And I would say that the European Parliament is ready and the European Commission is ready, although with this new president over the Commission, Ms. von der Leyen, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But the Council is definitely not ready. You saw that the European Commission started their own investigation on the rule of law in Poland. They felt less limited there, and I think it's political, because the Polish Peace Party is not within the Christian Democratic family. But the whole thing stranded, is delayed, constantly delayed, in the meetings of the ministers.
Yes.
But and you're right. The rule of law is what makes the European Union so attractive. I'm actually thinking about those countries that want to join the European Union. Now, finally, we're starting serious talks with Northern Macedonia, a country that so deserves to be part of the European Union. And I'm also once in a while afraid that we scare them off with bad examples like the situation in Hungary.
Yeah, and you also mentioned before, actually, that there was a division between the political groups around the rule of law. So it's not the same that the Christian Democrats are embracing the rule of law maybe as the Greens or the left or I don't know. Do you see that there is a clear division within the political group, and why so?
The why so I find difficult to answer, because to me, rule of law and democracy and fundamental rights, they're not left-wing or right-wing. They're general, and it cannot be that left-wing politicians need to protect basic rights and European values for its citizens against right-wing parties that are, Christian Democrats are perfectly democratic parties. But when it comes to being critical about your own people, they're scaring away. And I noticed that 10 years ago when I joined the European Parliament and I wanted to discuss press freedom in Italy, where at that point Berlusconi was the prime minister and also still the owner of his own media conglomerate. Mm-hmm. It was impossible to talk about that. And again, that was a Christian Democratic thing. Somehow, being pointed at brings the protectionists in them pointing back at you, saying, well, it's not all great in the Netherlands. And then I say, that's true, because I have no problem whatsoever being critical about what's going on in my own country. That's not for everybody. Some politicians think they represent the whole country, or they don't see the difference anymore between a political party and a state, like in Hungary, or like at that point, people from Berlusconi's party.
Okay. And if we jump now to in today's work of the Commission, probably you are still following what is going on, and you know that the Commission has proposed this new blueprint, some new mechanisms on rule of law. They announced that they will, for the first time ever, publish in this September, I think October, the status of rule of law in member states. Now they developed the questionnaire. There is some hearings, peer-to-peer reviews going on within the council. How do you estimate those new mechanisms? Do you think that this is just an excuse that they're doing something, or something could be happened out of those new mechanisms?
Now, I think it's good because it sets a trend that talking about rule of law, democracy, is normal, and being critical about each other, putting up peer pressure, is normal. This is how we do that among friends. Friends tell each other the truth and correct each other. However, it is not the European Commission that has been the problem for the last 1.5 years. It has been the member states in the Council of Ministers that still think somebody else will solve this problem for us. So as long as they're not acting, we will not see a government like the government of Viktor Orban being corrected. That's what I was looking for. We will not see the Fidesz government being corrected by its peers, the other governments, and that I think is the most disappointing. Look at the Croatian presidency.
Nothing much happening.
Exactly, but they're not the first. I mean, when the vote took place about on my report, September 2018, we were under the Austrian presidency, which was ÖVP-FPÖ, Christian Democrats, extreme right. Well, they were friends with the government in Hungary. Then came the Romanians. They were so-called social democrats, but they took example from the way Fidesz runs Hungary. Only after that came the Finnish, and they really tried. And now I guess, and this is a disappointment, we need to wait for the Germans that will take over July the 1st, because I haven't heard the Croatian government on rule of law a lot.
Unfortunately, neither did we here in Croatia. And this is what I missed, that we didn't have conference. That was the idea, to push them to do something about it. And now just one more question came to my mind, because I don't know if you noticed, it was 2 or 3 days ago, actually the old member states sent the press release, or they wrote together statement on the importance of rule of law in the days of this pandemic. All old member states except Austria. And there was no one new member state there. So we are seeing now this division between the old and new ones. How do you estimate that?
Well, I saw various versions of that text and the signatures, and I saw that the Baltic states joined as well.
Later.
And actually,
Hungary.
to show how actually weak the text was, Viktor Orban said, "Oh, but we can agree on that text as well, because it didn't name names." And I'm happy with member states taking action, but if they put down a statement of 3 paragraphs where they are just beating around the bush, not naming names, it is easy to get your signatures, but it doesn't mean anything. And it actually illustrates again, they still hope that somebody else will solve the issue.
Okay, and my last question. Yeah, we are in the middle of this crazy pandemic, and the world is changing rapidly. We are also seeing, some of the measures taken by some governments which are going in direction to hurt rule of law. It's not first time that rule of law is under the attack. We remember the fight against terrorism, now we have pandemia. Can you estimate what will be the future of rule of law in the context of this pandemic? Will it be devastated, or there is a still chance that we keep to the rule of law, in Europe at least?
We'll keep the rule of law in Europe, but we will see people suffering in certain member states, and Hungary is the example. But also in countries like Spain and France and Italy, the rules of staying indoors, not even being allowed to let your child play outside from time to time, they are very tough. But hopefully we all reappreciate what freedom is about, as we're being limited in our freedom right now. And next to that, most member states understand that without proper rule of law, you can't run an economy. The first thing that happened when the peace government was elected in Hungary, in Poland a couple of years ago, is that Standard & Poor's downgraded the country from a BBB to something lower, which actually says, international business, this is a country where investment is not as good as it was. Maybe you should not invest here. And that money talks.
Okay. So I hope that, that the money will not be the only reason that the bad guys can hear us. That's also about the values. And I would like to thank you at this point for this short talk. And there will be opportunity to see the outcome of this short talk on our website. We will collect all the interviews and then publish it, I think, in 2 weeks. Thank you one more time, Judith, a lot.
You're very welcome. I hope to see you in real life.
Yeah, me too. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.